Welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Trey. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out the show. This week, we've got a lot to dig into. We had AF1 kickoff this past weekend. We had NAL kickoff this past weekend. We had a little bit more shenanigans with AF1 to dive into and discuss. We've got a new streaming platform in the IFL to dive into. We'll break down all of that. And we also have an interview with the man of the game from last week's week 0 matchup in the AF1 between the Southwest Kansas Storm and the Nashville Cats and Michael Lawson. So gonna dive into his football journey, learn a little bit about his path to arena football, and I'm excited to see where he goes from here. He is an absolute stud and showed that in the week 0 game, but we'll dive into that a little bit later. Before we dive into any of that stuff, it's plug time. That's right. If you're not following us on social already, please make sure you're doing so at Off the Wall FB, F as in foot, B as in ball, Off the Wall FB. The link to all of our socials is in the description below, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please make sure you're following us on Instagram, X/Twitter, TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky. We're all over the place, so go give us a follow on there. And if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you're subscribing to the channel, liking the video, sharing it with a friend, commenting, troll me, whatever in the comments. Do whatever you want. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please make sure you're leaving a rating on the show as well, preferably 5 stars. But that helps out a lot and kind of shows folks that, hey, this is a real show that real people listen to. So every single one counts. So appreciate all the support so far. And with the seasons kicking off, we're only going to kick it into high gear from here. So super excited to see where we go. But as mentioned, I was very excited to chat with Michael Lawson about his week 0 performance and kind of talk about his path. I think his is a very interesting one that took him international. So a little tease there for you. And yeah, he's just getting started with his career, and I'm super excited to see where he goes. So let's not waste any more time. Here's Michael Lawson. All right, joining us on the show this week, we've got one of the best defensive backs in Arena Football 1 coming off of a big Week 0 win. He plays for the Southwest Kansas Storm, and his name is Michael Lawson. Michael, really appreciate you joining the show. How did it feel getting that opening week win at home in Dodge City?
I mean, for us, it was really, really big. Being a small market team like we are, we have a lot of doubters, and we have a lot of people that don't want to see this market succeed. So being able to get our home opening win was huge for us, and it really showed me a lot about our team. I think that we have a great group of guys, and we have the potential to be really, really able to do some damage in this league.
Yeah, it's not like in college, say, where like a smaller market is usually going to have a quote worse team or a less caliber team. Like you guys are stacked up just with any other team in the league and can compete. And I think last week kind of put some teams on notice. So I'm excited to see you guys kind of do your thing through the rest of the season.
Yes, sir.
So I'm excited to have you on, talk ball with you. But before we get too far into arena football, tell me a little bit about yourself and your football journey so far that's led you to where you are today.
As you know, my name is Michael Lawson. I'm from California. I'm a California kid, born and raised. I've moved all over California, from the Valley, the Modesto area, all the way down to the Bay Area. So I started off as a baseball player. Baseball is and will always be my first love.
Okay.
And I was the only one really who actually played baseball in my family and actually tried to stick through with it. The older brother, he's a basketball fanatic. He had a few offers coming out of high school, but his mom, he had to take care of his mom out in Washington, so he ended up moving there. And then the brother under him, the second brother under him, sorry, because I got it's 9 of us, so it's a lot. So
wow, okay. Yeah.
So he was the one that really introduced me to football. Watching him play really made me want to look up to him. His name's Rodney Lawson. I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps and really be who he was. Being a kid and watching him play, he did some crazy things, and I just wanted to match his energy. So his journey is kind of my journey. Out of high school, we both went to San Francisco City College. He played receiver, I played DB. After that, I played 2 years there. Played my freshman year, played sophomore year. Didn't make grades out of JUCO, so I had the red shirt, and those years were kind of difficult for me. I'm very transparent with my journey. I battled depression for a few years just because I love the game of football, and that being stripped away from me really hurt me, and it really opened my
Yeah.
eyes and made me really lock in to become the player that I am right now. So I really believe everything happens for a reason. If I did not sit out that year, I don't think I would be in this position that I'm in right now. So I'm very, very thankful for even learning that lesson.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a great perspective to have.
yeah. From there, I went to Lamar University, played about a year and a half there. I had a really, really great season. I won first team all DB and first team all punt return my first year there.
Nice. Okay.
COVID hit, and I was there for what? I was there for the winter training, and then my DC he ended up leaving to Western Illinois, and I ended up following him there. So I played
Okay.
COVID year there, and I played my last season there, my senior year, which I had a really good year there too.
Yeah, that's all.
I think I finished with around 95 tackles. I think I had 4 interceptions, 6 forced fumbles. I balled. I balled.
Yeah.
And then I got a few interests from the NFL. Nobody really took a chance on me.
Mhm.
That didn't deter me away from my dreams. You know, I kept pushing, I kept training. After that, I got called by the XFL. I got drafted when they first came out. I was there during training camp. I really felt I had an awesome training camp. I really felt like I did good.
Yeah.
I was told they wanted to keep veterans, which I understand. It was a new league, and you know they want
Right.
familiar faces, and they want people who understand the game and how to be a pro. So I took it as keep going and keep pushing. From there
Right.
to the CFL, I went to the Calgary Stampeders. That was, from a football standpoint, it was a shock because I didn't adjust to the waggle or the high motion
Oh yeah. Yeah.
until it was too late. I think it was like the last 2 days of the camp is where I really was locked in, honed in on how to actually manipulate and guard the high motion. But by then it was too late.
Yeah.
After that, I ended up start working, and then from there, I got a call from Germany, from the GFL, where I went to Potsdam. I played for the Royals, which was a hell of an experience. I loved it out there.
I believe it. Yeah.
That culture is beautiful. It that's what kind of brought me back into having love for the game again. I could just focus on ball. I can have fun, and
Yeah.
I was just surrounded by good people. Out there, I was able to win I was able to win the German Bowl, which was huge, huge. That was my
Yeah.
championship in football I've ever won. So I was really proud of being able to accomplish that, and especially being in a different country to accomplish that. That was really.
Yeah. No kidding.
Then from Germany, after that season, I think it was a few months later, I got a call from the Storm, and like, hey, we see you, we like you, we think you're a great player. Come out to training camp. We think you can do some good things for us. And what intrigued me was I was able to play both sides of the ball. I don't know if you knew this, but out of high school, I had an offer and I committed to play receiver at Humboldt State.
Oh, okay.
In high school, I was a receiver. I think my senior year, I had 31 touchdowns total. My senior year in high school,
Okay.
and then I kind of wanted to take a chance. I knew I was a Division One player, whether that been D1 AA, Power Five, whatever the case may be.
Right.
That chance, and I took from being a receiver. I went to corner. I played corner at City College for like a game, and they saw that I was just flying around the field and making every. And they was like, you know what, you're going to play safety for us from now on.
Yeah. Right.
And so that's how that turned out. That's how I became playing safety, and I fell in love with it.
That's awesome. So last year when you signed on with the Storm, we could have seen a little bit of Iron Man, a little bit of wide receiver DB Michael Lawson, a little bit of both.
Yeah. So in camp, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I definitely was probably one of our top receivers in camp.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Just because I understand as a DB what DBs think, and I understand
Right.
what's hard for me to guard and what's easy for me to read. So I try to
Yeah.
implement my DB knowledge into playing receiver as well. So that's what made me really, really effective on the offensive side of the ball, just because I have a defensive mindset.
Yeah. You're able to think, man, I would really hate it if this guy did this to me. So I'm going to do
Right,
that to them.
right, exactly. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a story, quite a journey. I mean, taking you to Canada, Germany, back to the States. Like you've been all over the place so far. I want to talk about coming out of college out of Western Illinois for a little bit. Two-time all-conference player there. What does that path look like for a player from a smaller school like that? I think typically people think about, like, you see the big names, big brands having their
Right,
pro days, and
right,
then you just
right.
throw right into the draft. What does that look like for someone coming from a smaller school?
From a smaller school, you have to be perfect in every asset of the game. You
Hmm.
have to be able to read defenses. You have to be offense. I mean, you have to be able to communicate, and really, you just got to be on your p's and q's. With me, I feel like I have all the potential in the world to play at the highest level. That wholeheartedly, because everywhere I've been, I've done damage, and I've been great. So
Yeah.
me coming from a smaller school, I really feel like it's based off all on who you know and being able to actually connect and network with people. That's one thing that
Mm,
I lacked and I did not learn quick enough coming out of college. Is I did not communicate and I didn't network as properly as I should have. So that was
right.
a real disadvantage for me. But I love my journey. I would not change it for anything because it taught me so much and it's really made me the man I am today. So I love my journey. I love the coaches. I love the players. I love the staffs that I've been a part of. Everything's been great. I don't think I would change it for anything.
Yeah, it's a real blue collar journey in that. All
Right.
right, I didn't get this opportunity. That's fine. I'll make this. I'll make the opportunity that comes next, and I'll make the most of it. It's really cool to see.
Right.
So you mentioned with your stint in the XFL with the in training camp.
Yeah.
How did that all come about? So you go through the whole NFL process. You had some conversations, but was it like something where like you had representation talking to XFL, or the XFL kind of found you? Like what was that like?
So I had a connection. Like I said, I was at Lamar with COVID year during the winter.
Hmm.
Um, one of our coaches, he ended up becoming the defensive back coach for the XFL for the Houston Roughnecks. So that was
Okay.
contact. I never got to play with him, but I played against him because the year prior we played Mississippi Valley, and that he was on the coaching staff there. So
Okay.
I had a really good game that game. I had a punt return for a touchdown that got called back. I had an
Uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had an
I
interception.
got you.
My first punt return that I've ever got at Lamar, and I cribbed it.
Yeah.
But
Oh man, brought it back.
yeah,
Dang.
yeah, yeah. So that was kind of my connection. I was working. I actually got a call from the Unicorns out in the GFL before I got called by the XFL. So I got
Okay.
called by them, but I didn't have a passport. So
Yeah, that'll do
everything
it.
happens
Yeah.
for a reason. I really believe that. So I'm thankful
Yeah.
for not having the passport because I was able to get an opportunity to play in the XFL and learn from vets that actually have been in the league and been where I want
Yeah.
to. So I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, he was really my connection to the XFL, and I'm just happy I was able to be a part of it. To be honest.
Yeah, and it speaks directly to what you just mentioned, having that network of not just who
Right.
you know, but who knows you, and
Right.
getting those little opportunities and making the most of it. Like it it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk about Germany. So you said Germany made reach out to you about it. What was that like? Was it something where like you got an email like, "Hey, we're interested in doing this," and you kind of have that conversation? And how quick was that turnaround to get out there?
Um, it was about a month's notice. So I knew
Okay.
they contacted me a month prior, but David Soul, he was the one who contacted me. He was the OC. Very good dude, very smart coach. He was the one who contacted me via Twitter. And then after that, we ended up talking through the what
Huh.
I'm like, what's the WhatsApp? It was like
Uh-huh.
it's a texting app that you got to use to contact people overseas.
Yeah.
So we stayed in contact, and he ended up getting me out there. He's a great dude, smart guy. Um, he really helped build that team from the ground up. He is a huge role in us. I say us because I was a part of the team. Winning
Yeah.
two German Bowls back to back. So I was very, very fortunate to be a part of that program, and I'm very thankful for David Soul for bringing me in.
Yeah. What was like your favorite part of living in Germany while the season was being played? Like not just with football, but off the field.
The prices,
The price.
the expenses, everything was very affordable. Uh,
Oh, love that.
no, but the architect, everything's beautiful out there. They got
Yeah.
so much history, and it's just beautiful out there.
Yeah. Did you have much of an opportunity to kind of explore the region, or did like
Yes,
because it's right outside of Berlin, right?
yeah, yeah. I went to Berlin a few
Yeah.
times. Berlin was nice. Berlin really reminds me a lot of San Francisco, though.
Okay.
Really reminds me a lot of San Francisco. But yeah, I liked it. I was able to go sightsee a couple of things, a couple of places. Not as much as I wanted to. I wish I had more time. I was only out there for like
Right.
2 to 3 months. I didn't play the whole season, but while I was out there, yeah, it was nice. I loved it.
Did you pick up any German along the way? Some things you still
Um,
remember?
Thank you, Dankeschön.
There you go. You got that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got that locked in. That's great. So I'm guessing based on you saying this was one of the best experiences. My next question was going to be, how highly would you recommend playing overseas to those players coming out of college that may not have gotten that first chance that they were looking for, but still want to prove themselves?
If you're looking to play some ball and have some fun and really try to get to the next level, I really highly, highly recommend it. Just because there are a lot of eyes on there right now. There's a lot of talent coming out of Europe right now. Because
Oh yeah,
we do have people that were in the NFL bouncing back and trying to get other opportunities. So you're learning and you're competing against people that played at the highest levels. So
right.
I
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah, there's some good players over in
Yeah,
Europe. I think people have that misconception too, where it's like you're not just playing a bunch of guys that
yeah,
picked up the game a week and a half ago. Like no, you it's similar situations to what you just described, where it's like these guys are coming from the States as well. So there's a pretty good caliber of player out there, but you need your passport. So
right.
get the
Right.
passport first.
Yeah.
Get
But
that passport locked in.
I don't know if this is correct, but I think it was Jameis Harrison. Back in the day, people who got cut from training camp, they usually sent people overseas to like the ELF to actually play
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and build and kind of get freshened up on the game and polished. So they got a lot of connections in there. So it's
yeah.
definitely a place where you should be looking into if you don't have the opportunity to play in the XFL, NFL, or Canada,
Right.
or even the arena.
Yeah.
Just play as much ball as you can, get as much film as you can, and let God do the work.
Yeah, go where you can get some film.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story, whether it's indoor, overseas, wherever.
Yes, sir.
So kind of taking you from Germany back to the States,
Mm-hmm.
you're transitioning to arena ball.
Mm-hmm.
Again, German season ended with a championship.
Right.
What did that transition look like, and what was that conversation like with Southwest Kansas in particular that made you end up joining?
Really, I had an opportunity to go back to Germany, um, but I felt like I wanted to try something new, give myself a little bit of a challenge, and be able to play arena style football. My dad really liked the arena style football back in the day. He always used to tell me stories about it, and I kind of think that it was it was only right for me to at least try to compete in this league.
Right.
Like you said, I played in Canada, or I've been a part of Canadian football for a little bit. I understood the high motion, and although I got it too late, I brought that understanding into the AF1 or the AFL
Yeah.
last year, and really I was able to really do some damage in the league. But yeah, he just gave me a call, shot me a text, said he liked my film and thought I can do some damage. And like I said, what really caught my eye was me really being able to play receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the Iron Man rule did get dropped, what that conversation look like in
Um,
terms of like going from like, hey, which one are we doing here? Was it a choice or was it a,
no,
hey, we really need some DB help here?
no, I didn't have a choice. I think it was after the first season scrimmage. Uh,
Yeah,
they told me that yeah, you're going to be our specialist. So you're gonna play safety for us. You won't be playing.
right.
So they labeled me a specialist after the first scrimmage, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. But
Yeah.
I really wanted to play receiver though.
That's high praise though.
Yeah,
The fact that they're like, no, we need you. We need you to be a specialist and play that kind of center field role, going back to the baseball roots there.
right, right.
So what's it like playing for Coach Thomas? He seems like a real salt of the earth guy, and he just really loves to compete and just wants to win so badly.
Yeah, Coach Thomas is a great dude. Yeah, he's a California cat too. So we connect.
Okay.
So he's from SoCal. He's a real great dude. He knows how to recruit. He gets people here to Dodge City, and he puts things together. So he's really down to earth dude. He's a solid coach. He understands the game. He understands concepts, and he really puts us in a position to be the best team that we can be. And it's just up to us to really gel and put everything together and go out and execute what his game plan is.
Yeah, right. The recruitment piece, I think you look at last year's roster and how many of those guys got a chance to go up to the next level of outdoor ball. It's like, man, he knows how to find these diamonds
Yeah,
in the rough and
yeah,
prepare them for next steps.
yeah, he does. I mean, he was he coached at the JUCO out here, Dodge City Community College, and
Uh-huh.
he's had a few guys filter, not a few, he's had a lot of guys filter in and out to Division I Power Fives. He
Yeah.
coached many NFL players, so he has a great eye for talent.
Yeah, getting them there and like finding the talent, refining the talent, those are two
Right,
very different things, and he's
right.
able to do both really well. So I think that's one of the reasons why once he got things figured out last year,
Yeah,
got went on a little bit of a tear and started this season off with a bang.
right, right, right.
So last year you were second in the league in INTs, but only played in half the games, which is
Yeah,
crazy to think about.
yeah.
Already off to a hot start this season, three interceptions in the first game, returning two of them for touchdowns against Nashville. Tell me about the opening game as a whole and what kind of works so well for that defense.
Um, this year's training camp was really shorter, and we didn't really do any banging like that because we were short on bodies and we didn't want to go through any injuries.
Right.
So us being able to practice and us being able to play a game was two different things. We looked solid in practice. We got some cover guys, we got some great DBs, we have some great receivers, but us being able to actually execute in a game and be as violent and physical as we were was
Yeah.
not exciting, not unexpected, but it was surprising though.
Right. Yeah, you could tell that the way I think who number two, I can't remember his name. His helmet popped off a couple times in
Yeah,
that first half. I'm like,
yeah,
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 I'm like, man, they're excited.
yeah.
They're just throwing themselves around.
He's a missile. He's a vet. He's a vet. He understands
Yeah,
he understands concepts. He understands what you're gonna do before you even do it, and
right,
that speaks to his preparation of the game. And I'm just fortunate to be able to learn from a guy like that. So I'm very glad
right.
we have him on his team. And then the other corner on the other side, Brian. Brian's a guy that's very physical, fast, lengthy, and he just wants to go out and compete. And he plays like his hair is on fire. So
Yeah,
that's awesome. And we have some great receivers that we play against every day. We got
yeah,
Charles, we got my boy, we got Daquan Bailey Brown, we got Shiloh,
yeah.
and Shiloh is a guy that really, really surprised me. One of the
He lit it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of those games that we played him last year. He actually played for a team last year. I can't remember who it was, but he actually balled out and he really surprised me. And during camp, he makes some catches that's insane. Like
yeah,
he can make some catches, and he's a playmaker. So being able to compete against those guys every day in practice is really what sharpens us, and them able to compete
yeah.
with us that we were able to sharpen them. So we're able to get better each and every day.
That's awesome. So I do want to touch on the two pick sixes. So the first one,
Right.
walk me through what happened here. So it looked like you jumped the hitch route and then
Yeah.
you could have crawled into the end zone if you
Yeah.
wanted to. Like
Well,
walk me through what happened and what you saw there.
being backed up, it's kind of I pride myself on watching film. I pride myself on understanding the game, understanding situational football. So
Yeah.
I understand that once we're backed up, you're on the 1 yard line coming out. So you're backed up. That ball has to come out hot. So it's
Uh-huh.
really no need for me to kind of pedal or get out of there. I'm just reading the eyes of the quarterback, and he really just threw me a gift. Yeah, he just threw me a
It's
gift.
it,
It was just a walk in.
it almost seemed like you were surprised to get it for a split second.
I was. I didn't think he was going to throw it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I mean, he's a rookie though, so I understand
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that play right there was a gimme.
Yeah, that was a gimme, but the second one wasn't as much of a gimme. It seemed like you came screaming across the field, kind of
Yeah,
speaking to the baseball roots, like you were playing center field a little bit
yeah,
and just kind
yeah.
of feeling where the play was going, and you just stepped right in front of it. What happened with that one?
So the same situation, understanding the time, the understanding the clock, understanding where you are on the field. I know that ball still has to come out or it has to get out of bounds. So he's going to try to throw something quick. He's going to try to throw something fast and on that wall.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
in that, I just slow pedaled, jumped off my man and read the quarterback's eyes and took it in.
yeah. It was incredible to watch because it was a tight game up to that point, but
Yeah.
those two pick sixes just kind of blew it wide open. It was like, all right, Southwest Kansas, they got this. They're for real. They're here. Yeah,
Right.
I'm excited to see the team gel and continue to work things out on both sides of the ball. And I think the sky's the limit for this group of guys, especially with Coach Thomas doing
Right.
things the way that he is.
Right.
Southwest Kansas is going to be a problem this year. So I'm excited to see you guys continue on.
Yeah, the storm's coming. We got a storm brewing, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. So I appreciate you hopping on here. I really look forward to seeing you continue to dominate at this level and beyond. I know you're just getting started here. Where can people follow you on socials and follow along your journey?
So my Twitter is 44 Beast Lawson.
Okay.
Uh, and then my Instagram is Scuba Love. It's SKUUBBAALOV.
All right. Perfect. I'll link both of those in the description below to make it easy to find for folks, both on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So, Michael, I really appreciate you taking the time again. Have any parting words for Storm fans before we get out of here?
Storm fans, we appreciate you. We appreciate the love and support you guys show for us. Continue to watch us, man. We got something special. We got a great group of guys, and we're really looking forward to making a run at this championship. So stay on the lookout. We got a storm coming, baby.
Let's go. Love to hear it. Thank you so much, Mike.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Big thanks again to Michael Lawson for joining the show and talking shop and talking about his football journey from college to the XFL to Germany to back to America to play arena ball. Again, I just can't stress enough how excited I am to see where he goes. He's an absolute baller. 3 interceptions in the first game of the season, and he only played half of the games last season. And I think he was second in the league in interceptions with 6 or 7. So he's already on pace to destroy that mark from last season. So I know he's going to get an opportunity at the next level. It's just a matter of when and where. So we got some AF1 stuff that we'll dive into first. So we did have the first game in AF1 history played in week 0 last weekend. But before we dive into that, I wanted to touch on one more team that bit the dust in the AF1 this past weekend, and it was the Arizona Bandits. So earlier in the day, before the week 0 game between the Storm and the Cats, it was announced that the Bandits, the inevitable finally happened, as rumors and speculation for months and months on end about their arena situation were swirling. The league announced that they would not be participating in the 2025 season, and I just feel so bad for the players and coaches that were led astray by another poor ownership group. But I mean, the good news is a majority of those players, from what I've seen so far, have kind of figured out what's going next, like their next step. Some have signed with IFL teams, some have signed with other AF1 teams, some have even gone to the LFA in Mexico. So it seems like the ball is rolling to get these people their next professional careers. But just a really unfortunate situation with how everything turned out, and just turns out to be another ownership group that was just way in over their head from the very beginning. And eventually it just seemed like a matter of if not when. And I was as optimistic as they come. I was like, surely they have this arena situation figured out. They wouldn't have gone on this long without an arena situation in place, right? Turns out that was not the case. The sentiment seems to be that they are done, but you can never say never. But that being said, the AF1 absolutely has to do better with their vetting process for these owners. The red flags with Arizona had been there for a while, dating back to an interview that president slash owner slash GM slash bandana sunglass man Matthew Mason mentioned in a interview with a local Arizona podcast or station, saying that their partnership group was ready to build their own stadium and they were going to invite the Arizona Coyotes to play in their stadium. Red flag. That should have been a major red flag. And just some other digital footprint issues that I've blogged about. You can go to offthewallfb.com to see exactly what that is. Not going to rehash that since it looks like they're dead. But Steve Titus, owner of the Billings Outlaws and AF1 league chairman, he was on a stream with AF1 Fan Zone and Tim Capper, and he mentioned how he thought business professionals didn't need to be babysitted, but that appears to be the case. For the sake of the league moving forward, the vetting process has to improve, and there must be an element of hand-holding and babysitting to get these new teams and partners onboarded and up to a point where we can avoid these situations and not having one team bite the dust every couple weeks leading into the beginning of the season. Now, the Orlando situation and the Arizona situation are drastically different, and the Orlando situation is ever evolving and ever growing, and we'll probably learn a lot more as time passes and people don't know how to be coy and shut their mouths about things, which is a good thing for us. We'll get the truth sooner than later. But going forward for the AF1, if you don't have ABC by the time you apply for AF1 membership, you're out. It should be a hard stop. No matter how optimistic you are, no matter the relationship with the owner that's applying. And if you don't have X, Y, and Z by this date or ABC by this secondary date, you're out or you're pushed back a year. So it's what's necessary for future growth of the league and changes. I'm sure changes will be made, and I'm sure they are 10 times as sick of it as any fan is, given that they're putting their blood, sweat, and tears into making this thing work. But yeah, it's necessary for the growth of the league, and it's necessary for the league to be a viable option and taken seriously within the arena football community for years to come. But all that being said, we finally had the first official AF1 game this past weekend in week 0. It was streamed on Evergreen Now, the new streaming platform partner with AF1. The Southwest Kansas Storm defeated the Nashville Cats 40-26. And let me tell you, this game was ugly when it started. Neither team really could get much going on offense. The Cats took a while to get going and figure out who was going to be the quarterback. They were alternating quarterbacks every other drive, and neither of them looked really good to start. Dunaway eventually became the guy that they leaned on in the second half. And the Storm in the first half, they just couldn't finish their drives. They would get into the red zone, but then just couldn't punch it in. So, and just like they had some struggles with in 2024 with Matt Struck at QB as well. But the game loosened up and it got exciting in the second half. Quarterback Jalen Morton for the Southwest Kansas Storm, he started letting it fly and he was able to connect with Shiloh Flanagan, which is probably one of my favorite wide receiver names in the league right now. He was able to get some deep balls and they were able to get wide receiver Daquan Bailey Brown in the mix early and often. And Morton is just going to be a very, very good quarterback this year. And he's a name you need to learn if you are going to watch AF1 this year, and would not be surprised if he gets a call up to like a UFL or CFL opportunity before the season's up, just because his dual threat ability was on display already in this game. And if he's able to get a couple things tuned up and get on the same page with some of his wide receivers, this Southwest Kansas Storm team is going to be very, very dangerous. But the star of the game by far was our guy, Michael Lawson. As we mentioned in the interview, he had 3 interceptions, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns in the closing minutes of the game, which ended up being the difference in the game. And big shout out to those interception pick 6 returns for also covering -9.5. So we were able to start the season off 1-0. All hail Michael Lawson. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. But for Nashville, they've got their work cut out for them. I think they started to figure out the quarterback situation. They were alternating series between Corey Curtis and I want to say it's Jake Dunaway. I don't know. I probably should have looked that up, but Dunaway is the last name for sure. Corey Curtis just looked rough and just looked off every single series that he was in. There were a couple really bad throws, and you could tell that they just needed a lot more reps in practice. Only a week or so of training camp and practice up to that point. They just looked rusty as all hell with Corey Curtis in there. But Dunaway was able to kind of get things going, and they eventually leaned on him in the second half. But he just threw back-breaking interception after back-breaking interception that second half, and really just crushed any chance of coming back that the Cats had late. And the situational awareness at the end of the game, clock was running, and they let 14, 15 seconds run off the clock while getting set up to run a play while they're down 2 scores. So just a rough outing for the Cats offense. 7 total turnovers in the game, and you just can't win like that. And I think Coach Darren Arbet knows that, and I'm sure they have their work cut out for them, and they know what needs to be done. It's just a matter of seeing if they can get it translated onto the field. But it wasn't all bad for the Cats. Wide receiver Trey Long is going to be great for the Cats this upcoming season as they get him involved through the air and on the ground. They were able to hand the ball off to him, and he was able to rush for a touchdown, and he was heavily involved in the passing game as well. But it all starts with the quarterback position, and they really need to get that figured out as soon as possible if they want to be competitive the rest of this season. Because if the rest of their games are even remotely close to how they performed in this first one, it's going to be a very, very long season for the Nashville Cats. But overall, the stream was great on Evergreen Now. I think that was the big takeaway for a lot of folks that were on social media watching the game and sharing their thoughts in real time. I feel like the stream was very, very strong. And I think that was a big point of apprehension going into it, is it was a brand new stream provider and didn't know what to expect. But by all accounts, it was really, really solid. And we'll have to see heading into week one next week if that was a one-off or that's going to be the new standard for AF1 moving forward. And if that's the new standard for AF1 moving forward, that's a big win for them and getting their first couple inaugural weeks off to a great start is much, much needed considering the offseason that they had. But as I mentioned last week, I'm going to make a more dedicated effort to cover the National Arena League as well. And they kicked off their week one this past weekend. I was able to catch those games as well. So starting off, the Beaumont Renegades versus the Sioux City Bandits. Beaumont, first ever NAL game, their debut game as an expansion team. They took down the runner-ups from last season's NAL championship. They were able to beat the Bandits 49-46. The Renegades are led by arena football veteran Corey Mayfield at head coach, who had a great run in the late 90s and 2000s with the Grand Rapids Rampage. Big shout out to World of Football for that little factoid. I didn't realize that until I listened to World of Football. So go listen to World of Football. Go check them out. They came out a little slow and they found themselves in a 12-point hole real early in the game, but they were able to claw back and they really took it to the Bandits here. Carl Robertson at quarterback, he had a great game, going 16 for 20 for 207 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they looked really good closing out the game and coming back. Hopefully, Beaumont can start to attract more fans to come out to the game. I understand it is an expansion team, the new guy in town in terms of things to do and whatnot. But this team is really solid, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They were able to get things tightened up as the game went on. But hopefully they can get more fans out there and the community of Beaumont can start to support this team, because if in their debut they're able to take down a team like Sioux City, this is a good squad. This is a good ball club we got here. On the other side, Sioux City looked really solid as well, especially to start off with a real focus on the ground game and a playbook scheme that I thought was really neat. I made a post on Instagram and TikTok going a little bit further into that, into more detail, kind of explaining what I mean by that. So go check that out. I really like how they utilize wide receiver Fred Bruno in both the passing game and the running game, much like Trey Long that we mentioned before. And I think Sioux City, they're still the favorites in the eyes of a lot of folks that cover the NAL. Like I said, still getting my feet wet with the NAL, still learning the lay of the land here to get back to that championship game. But all in all, Sioux City should be fine. They got popped in the mouth to open the season. By all accounts, they should be good. They had a couple of chances to come back in this one, and they just came up short. So big shout out to Beaumont for pulling out the win. And Beaumont could be a team that is no longer going to surprise people. People know that they're here. Next game we got here is the Omaha Beef. Went down to Shreveport, Louisiana to take on the Shreveport Rougarou. Good luck spelling that one if you haven't seen it yet. But Omaha won this game 41-18. And this was a rough game to watch. Very, very rough. The broadcast wasn't ideal. Cameraman kept getting faked out on every play action run play. It seemed like no score bug on the screen was tough to deal with, but it was a good enough week one game, I guess. I don't know. It's just presentation wise, it was probably the well, I wouldn't say it's the worst game of the weekend, but it was rough. It was tough to watch, and it just, if I was trying to turn someone on to arena football and that was the game that happened to be on, I would be kind of embarrassed that I introduced them to that. And I don't think the person that I showed that to would really give a damn about arena football anymore. So I think that kind of needs to be the rubric that you use, where if you're showing this stream to someone who's never seen the game before, would they come back? And if you showed them this game, the answer would be no. Like they would say, you're a loser. What are you doing? This sucks. So, but Omaha looked great on defense, and it seems like they're going to be a major problem for teams all year long on the defensive side of the ball. DB Marcus Gray had a really nice interception in the game, and they were just swarming all game on the defensive side of the ball. But on offense, they looked very pedestrian and just nothing to really call home about. Like not your typical Omaha beef performance that you've seen in years past. And so defense put them in some good positions to capitalize on some mistakes from the Shreveport, who was in their very first NAL game as well. And they had a chance to really lay it on. This game could have easily been a 70-20, 70, like 60-20 game. But something's just off with the offense. The passing attack doesn't seem fully dialed in just yet. Maybe it'll get there. They got quarterback Lorenzo Brown Jr., who has had success in the indoor game before, but running the ball was the only thing that they could really do consistently. And special teams as well, what was a problem for them, and it's looking like that's going to be their Achilles heel all throughout the season. Multiple kicks blocked, just extra points and 2 point conversions. It was just all over the place. So um, unless they can get some things figured out real fast, special teams is going to be a problem. But this was a solid-ish week one from Omaha. Definitely an upgrade from their preseason game where we know what happened with Minneapolis. Covered it last week. But on the other side, Shreveport has a lot of growing pains to go through. Beaumont was able to make a debut and punch one of the best teams in the league in the mouth and come away with a win. That was not the case here. They kind of seemed to get their act together towards the end of the first half, beginning of the second half, but they just couldn't get much going. And I don't necessarily think it's a them problem, but they were also going up against that beef defense that was just playing incredibly well and is probably one of the better defenses, if not the best defense in the entire NAL. So they should be able to surprise some teams down the road and potentially play spoiler. And when you reach week 7, week 8, week 9, and the playoff picture starts to solidify a little bit, but it's looking like it's going to be a rough debut season for the Rougarou. Next up, we have the Columbus Lions. They took on the Peach State Cats. This was a fill-in game for the Columbus Lions. They were originally slated to play the Amarillo Dusters, excuse me, and Amarillo is dead right now. We'll see if they get resurrected, but dead for now. And so the Peach State Cats stepped in. We're like, hey, we'll play. So Columbus ended up just clobbering them 85-0. This was even more lopsided than the scoreboard suggests. Not really going to dig into it here. But Peach State had 10 turnovers, only 3 completed passes to give you an idea of the type of game that this was. And this was another one where the stream was just not good and made the game borderline unwatchable. So hopefully the Lions staff can rerun some wires, go to Best Buy, buy a new cord, do something to to get these things sorted out before the next game and before they start taking on some league competition. Then the last game of the weekend was the Colorado Spartans traveling to the Wheeling Miners, and Spartans won this game 49-44. So this was the big debut for the Wheeling Miners, who absolutely washed teams in the AAL2 last season before making the leap to the NAL. And the Miners came into the season as a big time favorite to win it all and received nearly half the first place votes in the NAL media poll that the league is doing with with their podcasts and everything that they're doing there. But it's very apparent early on that the Wheeling offense is going to live and die through their quarterback, Grant Russell, who had 189 yards and 3 touchdowns, but then also 16 rushes for 48 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he had 7 total touchdowns on the day. But there's got to be more balance if this team wants to be successful and come away with some wins. I think he had 16 rushes. I think only 4 or 5 other carries amongst the entire team. So over time, he's going to take a beating if he's handling the ball this much, and you got to spread it out a little bit more. It's very similar to the Northern Arizona situation last year with Josh Jones, where Josh Jones was playing unbelievable ball, but they were dropping some games because they didn't have much balance outside of the quarterback. It's a very similar situation here. So you got to get the ball into the hands of some players like Charles Westbrook, a bit more in the ground game, and maybe mix in some wide receiver usage, similar to what Sioux City was able to do with their wide receiver in Fred Bruno. So it's apparent what Wheeling wants to do, and Wheeling was down for most of the game, and they quite frankly just ran out of time. They seemed to be getting the momentum back towards the end, but they just ran out of time to complete the comeback. Wheeling should be fine. They'll be a very competitive team, but I think they got to find some balance if they want to be able to be a contender for a league title later on in the season. And then on the other side, the Colorado Spartans were not really trying to hide what their game plan was. They were going to run the ball, and they were going to run the ball again, and then they were going to act like they were going to pass, but really they were going to run. Led by quarterback Aaron Aiken, who had 4 first half rushing touchdowns, and he had 6 total in the game. They had nearly 150 rushing yards on the ground, and that, which is a ton in the indoor game. And they just controlled the pace of the game all throughout, and they were able to get out to a big lead. And Wheeling wasn't really able to convert on extra points or 2-point conversions, like you would hope. And Colorado was able to finish those things. So Colorado looked really, really good. They came out swinging, and they took it to Wheeling and kind of punched Wheeling in the mouth. This was Wheeling's first ever loss as a team. They started last season and just ran the board in AAL2. So Colorado looked really, really good, but they'll have another really tough test ahead of them next week when they travel to Omaha to take on that Omaha Beef defense. So big ups to Colorado for taking away the win here on the road on Monday night. It was a big time game in the NAL, and Colorado came away with the win. So moving over to the IFL, the big news out of the IFL this week was finally the unveiling and the announcement of the IFL Network. This has been rumored and discussed on forums and whispered about for a little while now, but finally was announced, where all their games will be streamed and housed moving forward. The IFL YouTube was completely wiped out of all their games that they've had live streamed over the past couple of years, and all games moving forward will require an account and a paid subscription to access on the IFL network. So there's a couple different options here. The season pass is going to be $29.99 with full access to the regular season in 2025, keywords regular season, with a 30-day free trial. Monthly pass will be $9.99, monthly access with a 30-day free trial as well. So season pass is the better value there, but you notice it says regular season. Postseason is reportedly going to be a separate add-on later on, which is very, very annoying. But as part of the press release, some of the things that they mentioned that the subscriptions will include are all games are live and on demand, every regular season matchup available anytime, anywhere, on any screen. Additional features include a live DVR, pause, replay, and rewind, live chat, view and post real-time discussion with fellow fans, and then clip, share, and download highlights. Create and share your favorite moments across social media sites. What's funny to me is that the selling point of those subscription details that they included were already things that you could do on YouTube, where the games were housed before and where they were previously streamed. So imagine someone selling you something that features all of the same things of something you already have for free, but this time you get to pay money. Doesn't make a ton of sense. I feel like the release probably should have included more of the specific bells and whistles of, how are the streams improving? What is the AI doing that you're hanging your hat on? Like, what specifically will change? What will improve? What can we expect out of the streams? And from the article as well, it says the IFL network leverages Visakes, might be mispronouncing that, advanced AI technology to deliver seamless streaming, personalized fan engagement, and innovative tools that elevate the viewing experience. I guess we'll just have to find out what types of improvements are in the hopper for the IFL streams, but putting these streams behind a paywall like this, in the immediate future, it seems like a step backwards. I understand the need to monetize the streams. It's an asset. It's probably one of the biggest assets that any league has. So you want to be able to monetize it as much as possible. But going 100% Leroy Jenkins, running straight into the paywall world, just doesn't seem like the best transition from their previous setup, especially at a time when competitors are making streaming streaming enhancements and streaming partnerships for free. So it seems like the IFL just had to maintain status quo, and they could have taken multiple victory laps around some of these other leagues that had shortcomings this upcoming season, but they kind of, put themselves in the mud and gave people a reason to throw mud at them, which is crazy. But at the very least, there should have been some free or freemium versions of it on the IFL network. I feel like that's just a big missed opportunity. Again, this is just me speaking from what I know. I don't know, obviously, have no clue what the financials, what the thought process is behind it. Maybe we'll hear about it from the commissioner or some on some team podcasts in the future, a little bit more clarity on what this all entails. But it just seems like it's going to be something that exchanges potential growth for the league for monetary gain now. And when you look at some of the games from last season, some of the games only had a couple hundred folks watching. Um, if it was a really good game, you'd have 1, 2, 3,000 maybe. Assuming that every single one of them will pay for the season or the month is bold. I don't think every single person that was watching those games would be willing to pay, especially when you have other leagues putting out their product in a different way for no paywall, for no upfront costs. So, but at the same time, what if the enhancements are really awesome? Like I try to be as optimistic about things as possible. So what if the changes and enhancements are sweet? And what if it really does change the game for the industry? So it's just too early. I think it's too early to really tell, but my gut is saying that this is not the best thing they could have done. But hey, we'll see how it works out for the IFL, and we'll see what they end up doing. But time will ultimately tell. But if they're putting games behind a paywall, I will say every single stream has to be perfect, not good, not better, perfect. Has to be absolutely perfect. Like last year, if you watched a Duke City game, you were rolling the dice on if you'd be able to make it through. If you watched a Massachusetts game, you were rolling the dice on if you were able to make it through the entire broadcast in one piece. But if you went to San Diego, that was going to be one of the best viewing experiences of any sport that you could possibly imagine. So every single game, regardless of where it is being played, regardless of the arena, regardless of the team, has that San Diego expectation now that you put it behind a paywall. So I I hope absolute perfection is the standard for these streams moving forward, because if we encounter these same streaming issues that we had last year, whether it be with Stadium, whether it be with Caffeine TV, whether it be with the Duke Cities and Massachusetts situations of the world, absolute perfection is what is expected from the people that will be paying for the service in the IFL network. So we do have another weekend of games coming up in the AF1 and the NAL. We'll start in the AF1. We've got the Billings Outlaws going to the Oregon Lightning on Saturday night. Billings is a 16.5-point favorite. We've got the Salina Liberty going to the Corpus Christi Tritons. Corpus Christi, a 2.5-point favorite at home. That's going to be on Sunday afternoon. Then we've got Southwest Kansas heading to Washington to take on the Washington Wolfpack. Southwest Kansas coming in as 9.5-point favorite. So we've got two big-time home dogs in the Oregon Lightning and the Washington Wolfpack. I'll post the official off-the-wall picks heading into the weekend, but we'll get to see the season debuts of 5 different teams. We saw Southwest Kansas last week, but Washington, Corpus Christi, Salina, Billings, and Oregon will get to see their debut and see what they're all about and get a feel for where they're at. But it should be a very fun slate of games, and it will be a great litmus test for Evergreen now, and see if the stream quality is consistent from venue to venue, or if Southwest Kansas just happened to catch lightning in a bottle. I know streaming stuff in Oregon last year with the whole Black Bears debacle, not good. Not even a little bit. Washington streams got better throughout the year, so hopefully the stream quality is going to be just like the one that we saw in Southwest Kansas in week 0, because that was very excellent and provided a really good viewing experience. But I think Billings and Salina are going to be very, very good teams this year. They have some really good talent, and Billings has arguably the best overall coaching staff in terms of developing players. They have a ton of rookies. They've got Andre Sale and Lex Rosario, who came over from Orlando after the incident, we'll call it. So they have a really good veteran quarterback, really good veteran number 1 receiver, and a bunch of rookies that are going to be figuring out the game. But I trust Coach Walker to be able to fully develop these guys throughout the year, just like he did last year with a similar looking roster. But I think it's not a secret that Oregon, Corpus Christi, and Washington are the biggest question marks in the league right now heading into the season, and they all have big time boom or bust potential where they could be very, very good teams if things really click for them from the jump. But I think very easily you could see them struggle throughout the year and I don't want to say become a punching bag, but kind of get bossed around a little bit, depending on how things shake out. So, but it'll finally be time to play some arena ball and stop talking about it, and time to start being about it. Then lastly, we've got the NAL Week 2. We've got the Idaho Horsemen making their season debut against the Sioux City Bandits on Friday night. We've got the Wheeling Miners taking on the Carolina Cobras, and the Carolina Cobras season debut on Saturday night, and then the Colorado Spartans taking on the Omaha Beef on Saturday night as well. So honestly, a really, really great slate of games in the NAL. These teams are arguably the ones that most people think in the space. Again, I'm still drawing my own conclusions here. I don't want to hop in there just yet, but most people think that they have a really strong chance to make a run for the NAL title. Most of the teams in this slate, so getting to see them duke it out will be fun, and to be able to see if Omaha can get back on track, if Colorado is legit, can they repeat what they did last week? If Wheeling and Sioux City can bounce back, and we can get a feel for what Carolina and Idaho will bring to the table as a whole this year. But the NAL is shaping up to be a really fun league, and every week is going to have some combination of games that's going to be very interesting and intriguing, and gonna provide some really entertaining matchups all year long. And that's the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to check it out. We ran through some AF1, we ran through some NAL, we ran through some IFL, and of course, we had Mr. Michael Lawson on the show. So big thanks to Mr. Lawson for joining the program. Again, make sure you're following him. Go to the description below. Follow him on Instagram, follow him on Twitter, and let him know you heard him on Off the Wall. So big thanks again to him for helping on. And big thanks to you for following along and supporting the program. And we're at the beginning of arena football season. Finally, week 1 in the AF1, week 2 in the NAL, week 1 of the IFLs in 10 days. From the time of recording. Is so super exciting time. And make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, or subscribe to the Spotify and Apple podcast feeds, liking the show, sharing it with a friend, rating 5 stars on the podcast feeds, doing all that fun stuff really means a lot. It helps out. And then make sure you're following us on socials as well, at Off the Wall FB. Again, all those are in the description to join in on the conversation as we're watching the games on Friday night, on Saturday, and on Sunday afternoon. Some very exciting games we got coming up on the weekend, and I'll be watching live and tweeting out my thoughts, providing some posts, making a meme or two, joking around with people. Probably trying to find a way to poke fun at Omaha fans, and who knows? We'll see what happens. But really appreciate everybody for the support and follows and shares and likes so far. It means a lot. So there's only 24 hours in a day. The fact that you chose to spend like 50 minutes listening to Off the Wall here means a lot. So we'll see you guys next time. Enjoy this upcoming slate of games. Follow us on socials, join the conversation, and we'll see you next time. Bye.